When people think about retro RTS games, they usually think about PC classics like Warcraft, Command & Conquer, and StarCraft. But consoles had some really good RTS games too. I've always found that interesting. Back then, if you wanted to make an RTS, the PC was the obvious choice. You had a mouse, a keyboard, and everything the genre needed. So the fact that some developers looked at a controller and thought, yeah, we can make this work, is pretty cool. For this list, I only picked games that were originally made for consoles. So if a game started on PC, it doesn't count. Let's get into it. Number 5. Herzog Zwei. Released back in 1989 for the Sega Mega Drive, Herzog Zwei is the oldest game on this list. At first glance, it almost looks like a simple action game, but once you start playing, you quickly realise there's a lot more going on. Instead of moving a cursor around the screen, you control a fighter that can transform into a robot. You fly around the map, buy new units, carry them where you want them, and give them simple orders before heading off to the next part of the battlefield. Your goal is pretty simple. Capture bases to earn more money, build a bigger army, and eventually destroy the enemy headquarters. Once your units have their orders, they'll keep fighting on their own while you're busy somewhere else. Looking at it now, it's easy to spot ideas that later became common in RTS games. You've got bases to capture, resources coming in over time, different units to build, and battles happening all over the map at once. It doesn't play exactly like Warcraft or Command & Conquer, but you can definitely see some familiar ideas. The controls take a little while to get used to, especially if you're expecting a traditional RTS. But once everything clicks, it's a really fun game. Even today, Herzog Zwei still feels different, and that's a big part of why it's worth playing. Number 4. Kingdom Under Fire, The Crusaders. Kingdom Under Fire came out for the original Xbox in 2004, and this one takes a very different approach. Instead of sitting above the battlefield and controlling everything from a distance, you're actually down there, fighting with your army. You control your main character directly, fighting enemies with swords and combos. But you're also giving orders to whole groups of soldiers. You can move them around the battlefield, choose who they attack, change formations, and use different types of troops like archers and cavalry. The battles can get pretty big too. You'll have huge groups of soldiers fighting around you, arrows flying overhead, and cavalry charging into enemy lines. And you're not just watching it happen, you're right there, fighting alongside them. There's also quite a bit to do between battles. You can recruit and manage your troops, level them up, improve their abilities, and spend the money you've earned on new equipment. Your main character can be upgraded too, so your army slowly gets stronger as you make your way through the campaign. It's not a traditional RTS like Warcraft. It's more of an action game, an RTS mixed together. Instead of trying to copy the usual mouse and keyboard setup, it was built around what you could actually do with an Xbox controller. And honestly, for an original Xbox game, it still looks pretty good. The big battles are the real highlight, and being able to build up your troops and then fight right alongside them gives the game a completely different feel from most RTS games. Number 3. Dragon Force. Released for the Sega Saturn in 1996, this one is pretty different from everything we've looked at so far. You choose one of 8 rulers, take control of their kingdom, and start building up an army. A lot of your time is spent on the map. You're moving generals around, defending castles, and deciding where you're going to attack next. Each general commands their own group of troops, with units like soldiers, archers, cavalry, mages, and even dragons. Then you get into the battles, and things get pretty crazy. You can have hundreds of troops on screen, with 2 armies charging straight into each other. You give orders in real time, move your troops around, pull them back, or send everyone forward, while your generals use their own special attacks. Your generals get stronger as you play too. They can level up, learn new abilities, and eventually command bigger armies. So keeping your best generals alive and building them up becomes pretty important. There's also a lot happening outside the battles. You're watching the map, protecting your castles, moving armies around, and working out where to attack next. One bad move can leave part of your kingdom wide open. And seeing this many troops fighting at once on a Sega Saturn is still pretty cool. There's a lot to learn at first, but once you get the hang of it, building up your generals and slowly taking over the map can get pretty addictive. Number 2. Aliens vs Predator Extinction. Released on the PlayStation 2 and original Xbox in 2003, this one lets you take control of 3 completely different sides: the colonial marines, predators, or aliens. The marines rely on weapons, technology, and different types of soldiers. Predators have their own weapons and abilities, while the aliens are all about growing the hive and creating different types of creatures. You don't build a normal base either. Instead, each side has its own way of getting new units and resources. The aliens use hosts to grow more xenomorphs. The predators earn points from hunting enemies, and the marines rely on supplies. You can build up a pretty nasty army too. There are different alien types, heavily armed marines, and predators with their own gear. As you play, you can spend points on upgrades that make your units stronger or unlock new abilities. Having 3 sides that work so differently gives you a good reason to try all of them. Playing as the Marines feels completely different from controlling an alien hive, and switching over to the Predators changes things again. And really, an Aliens vs Predator RTS is just a cool idea. Instead of playing as one alien or one predator, you get to control a whole group of them and watch the 3 sides tear each other apart. Number 1. Goblin Commander. Unleash the Horde. Released on the PlayStation 2, Xbox and GameCube in 2003, this one puts you in charge of groups of goblins as they fight their way through a fantasy world. You control different clans, and each one has its own types of units. You've got everything from basic fighters and archers to bigger creatures that can cause some serious damage. You can combine different clans too, so you're not stuck using the same army for every fight. The controls are pretty simple. Instead of trying to select loads of individual units, you control them in groups. You tell a whole squad where to move and what to attack, which makes a lot more sense when you're using a controller. You can also take direct control of powerful creatures called Titans. When you do that, the game switches things up and lets you run around smashing enemies and buildings yourself. It's a nice change from just giving orders all the time. As you go, you collect souls that can be used to upgrade your clans. You can make your units stronger and improve your army as you work through the campaign, so there's a good reason to keep building up the groups you use the most. It's easy to pick up, it's got plenty of different units to mess around with, and the whole thing works really well with a controller. For a game built around bringing real-time strategy to consoles, Goblin Commander does a pretty damn good job.